Do you know what's going on if the dynamics of your relationship is one-sided and self-serving? You are being taken for granted. On this episode, I am going to be talking to you about what to do when you are being taken for granted. In any given relationship, whether it's a work relationship, friendship, family type relationship, the dynamics of the relationship can either be a well-balanced, healthy relationship or a one-sided, self-serving relationship. Now, if you are in a healthy, well-balanced relationship, you are enjoying the luxury of people showing up for you as much as you show up for them. You are enjoying the luxury of receiving as much as you give. You are enjoying the luxury of being appreciated as much as you appreciate other people. You are enjoying the luxury of people showing up for you as much as you show up for them. But if you're on the other side of things, where the relationship is one-sided and self-serving, you are the one who do all the giving. You are the one who would drop everything and run to save another person. You are the one who always makes yourself available to cheer everybody on and give everybody support. You are the go-to person for everybody when they need something done. Yet, when it's your turn to get support, you scramble around to see if anyone will support you. You are the one that everybody worry less about because they assume you're okay. You are the one that everybody really don't check in on because they think you got everything figured out. No matter how good you are, no matter how generous you are, it can be incredibly draining when you're in a one-sided relationship. It's such a painful feeling when all your effort goes unnoticed. And it's such a sad reality to simply know that the people around you only recognizes your value when they need something from you. So on this episode, we are going to look at some tools that will help you address this issue and reclaim your worth. And I hope that by the end of this video, you will feel empowered to set boundaries. You will feel empowered to communicate your needs to the people that you give so much to. And you will feel empowered to create a more healthier dynamics in your relationship. Let's look at some of the things you will need to do to address the fact that you are being taken for granted. Number one, you must first recognize that you are being taken for granted. Because to find a solution to a problem, you have to first identify it. And the people who tend to give a lot of themselves to other people, who tend to give a lot of their time and resources to ensure that other people are okay, always tend to blur the lines and make excuses and set the expectation low for other people because they are so used to being the ones who put out their best foot forward, but yet feel the pain of receiving very little. They tend to always color things up and never really like to look at things for what they are, black and white. So to address that feeling that you are being undervalued in your relationships, you must first recognize and identify the problem for what it is. Now that you can recognize that you are being taken for granted, the next thing would be to understand the role that you have played for the dynamics of your relationship to be like that. If you're the one that is always showing up, if you're the one that is always giving, it is easy to always fall into that patterns. You have to ask yourself, do I always have to show up for other people? Do I always have to make myself available even when I'm struggling? While you do these things out of the kindness of your heart, remember, over-accommodating others can lead them to believing that you will always be there for them, which can automatically result to them taking you for granted even without realizing it themselves. This is why it is important for you to set boundaries. Setting boundaries is a form of self-care. Setting boundaries allows you to show your own self-respect so you can show up for other people at your best. Here are some of the helpful tips to set boundaries. Practice saying no. No is a complete sentence. And if it's difficult for you to say no outrightly, start small. If it's too overwhelming for you to blurt out the word no, start small. For example, if someone asks you for something at a time that is not convenient for you, you should be able to tell them, I cannot help you at this time, maybe next time. Setting boundaries does not mean that you are keeping other people out. Setting boundaries means that you are showing your self-care, you are showing your self-kindness, and you are showing your self-respect. Setting boundaries is a form of self-care. It has nothing to do with the other person. It's something you have to do for yourself. And once you have recognized that you are being taken for granted and you've also identified the role that you've played and set the necessary boundaries, the next thing is for you to learn how to communicate your needs effectively. Communicating your needs is very important, because if people do not know exactly how you want them to show up for you, they probably will not do it. So you have to learn to be honest about what your needs are and be specific. If it's in your family that you are struggling in this aspect, you have to be able to communicate your needs either to your parents or to your siblings, that this is how I want you to show up for me to feel like I'm being appreciated. If it's in your friendship and you're always the one checking in, you're always the one making plans, you're always the one supporting, and you get very little back, approach your friend in a kind manner and talk to them and say, I noticed that I'm always the one that checks in, I'm always the one that always make plan, I'm always the one that do everything to keep this friendship afloat. I would like for you to do A, B, C, so that we can balance out the dynamics of our relationship. If your effort to communicate doesn't work and your feelings get dismissed, or the person become defensive, or your feelings get invalidated, now you will have to decide how to move forward with that relationship. If you find that despite your best efforts, someone is repeatedly taking you for granted and disrespecting your boundaries, you will have to assess if that relationship should continue. This can be incredibly difficult if it's a family member or a friend, but you have to understand that your emotional and mental well-being is important. Distancing yourself from certain relationships does not mean that you don't care. It means that you are prioritizing your emotional and mental well-being, and that is okay. We all deserve a relationship where we feel valued and seen and appreciated. Once you are able to walk away from any kind of one-sided relationship, the next thing will be to take the time for personal reflection. You have to ask yourself, what are your values when it comes to a relationship? What do you need from other people to feel supported and respected? Spend time with people who uplift you, people who respect you, and people who values you. And practice self-care along the way. Build a strong sense of self-worth that is not dependent on other people's validation. This will empower you to keep healthy boundaries and recognize when you are being valued. To wrap up, remember that when people take you for granted, you have the power to change the dynamics. Recognize the signs, set boundaries, communicate your needs, and know that it's okay to walk away when necessary. By doing this, you are not only protecting your peace, you are also teaching others how to treat you. Thank you so much for watching today's episode. If this topic resonated with you, please subscribe, leave a comment, and like. If you've been taken for granted before, leave a comment and tell me how you dealt with that. If you know someone who is being taken for granted, if you know someone whose relationship is one-sided, share this video with them. You might just be helping them out. Remember, we are all worthy of a relationship where we feel valued, where we feel respected, and where we feel supported. Thank you again, and I will see you on the next episode. Bye.